Wednesday, April 15, Brekkie with Vossy and Brandy. Thank you for making the switch to SEN 1170. The great Andrew Voss back in no time at all, just lightening the load for a couple of weeks. So you got Matt Russell alongside Greg Alexander. Brandy yesterday was all about Rory McIlroy, today being dominated by Locky Galvin. If you've got a say on West Tigers, on Locky's management team, jump on the Great Southern Bank open line, 1300 01 1170. Live happily, clever after with the Great Southern Bank. And of course, the text line is open, 0457 736 736. Thanks to Sunrise Local Stores. So many texts there. We will try to get to as many as we can, but we've got to welcome another one of our special guests.
Doctor, give me the news.
On Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy, the back page with David Riccio.
Morning, Dave. I just recovered and enjoyed the Masters when at about 11 o'clock yesterday morning the news dropped that Locky Galvin was no longer going to be a Tiger. And that sort of distracted me away from what Rory had done and focused me on exactly what the hell that meant.
Yeah. Good morning, boys. Good morning. Yeah. Another twist and turn in the great game. Look, I know some Tigers fans will be shocked by this, but I've got to say, guys, I'm not. And, it's something we've been talking about for a while now. And certainly when Lachlan approached the West Tigers for a release just under 12 months ago, I think we got an indication of how challenging it may be for the West Tigers to hold on to him. Now, at that time, guys, the Tigers did a good job. Shane Richardson did a great job in convincing Locky to calm the farm, stick around, and we'll show you the way. Clearly, ever since then, it's been an itch that Locky has wanted to scratch because he's now made that formal. Well, certainly through his management last Thursday meeting with Shane Richardson, where it all unfolded, of which has been widely reported that they sat down. And it was in the process of where Richardson was preparing to forward an offer that Lachlan Galvin's management said, well, actually, Shane, don't bother. We are on the move at the end of 2026. A statement followed from the West Tigers club yesterday stating that Lachlan Galvin won't be given an early release. He will be here until the end of 2026. I think that story, part of the story, is the space that we now see how it unfolds.
Dave, you just asked or answered my question. I wanted to know exactly who made this decision. Was it Locky and his team telling the Tigers, no, don't bother, we won't be here after 26? Or was it the Tigers saying, if you're not willing to accept, review, think about our offer, then you can go? You're saying it was Locky and his management team that said, don't even bother. We are making the decision not to be there post 2026. So the flow-on question is, why? Why is Locky so alienated, disenfranchised by the Tigers?
But going back to David, you're right. It's been, and we've spoken about this, Matt. It's been from the get-go. It's been from day one. From the moment he made his debut, all of a sudden, how long after he made his debut did he seek a release, David? Like last year. You said around this time last year. So what?
Yeah, it was June last year. Yeah.
Okay, so 10 games into his first grade career, he's going, I want out. See,
and as we find out now, nothing's changed.
No.
Nothing's changed a year down the track. But why, David? Is it because he doesn't get on with Benji, doesn't have faith in Benji, doesn't something else about Benji, or are there other factors there as well?
Yeah, guys, I've touched on this in the past. There's certainly, I think it's disrespectful to say a complete lack of belief in Benji Marshall. Like Benji's certainly doing a great job at the moment with the West Tigers and this young gun roster that he's got. I think it's a belief in where Locky Galvin thinks his football can go, potentially at another club and another coach. I think that's where it sits. That's the underlying factor. Guys, you got to look, in respect to the 19-year-old, he's not the first footballer to believe that he'd be best served at another club, and he thinks he can get more out of another club. Blaine Talangi is a perfect example, leaving Parramatta to join the Panthers, where he firmly believes that would be an awesome setup for him to progress and develop his game. Stefano Utoikamanu left the West Tigers to join the Melbourne Storm system, to be part of something that cultivates success. Now, I firmly believe that's where Galvin's thinking at the moment with his football. He clearly doesn't see enough in the West Tigers to get the best out of him at the moment. And that's where it sits. It's again, boys, for me, it's just going to see how this unfolds, because the backlash on Locky has been immense. Like, it's been one-way traffic from Tigers fans as far as wanting him gone now or in New South Wales Cup this weekend. And how he handles that will be the greatest strength of his character, really, and how the club handles it as well.
Well, on the text line.
Yeah, just David, just so the headlines about, his relationship, Benji not being not the man, doesn't rate Benji, and you can read between the lines and, anonymity and, sources say, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't put the 19-year-old in a very difficult situation at the moment, does it?
Extremely difficult.
He's got after teammates have been ticking some of the outrage from fans on social media. Yep. So seriously, where does this leave him? And is this have they missed the jump, the manager and the parents, about, looking after a 19-year-old boy that still has 2 years to go, or are they agitating again for a release? They want to get him out of there now, and this is the way it's going to work. This is how that gets him out of there.
And Dave, before you answer that, here's the example of what Brandy's talking about. On the text line, Kenny writes, Locky needs to be in reserve grade and see if he likes the coach there. More stinging, this one, Locky Galvin, you are a selfish rugby league player. You aren't an elite 5'8". You have no loyalty to the West Tigers or your coach, a disgrace, your player manager as well. Galvin leaves the Tigers for Para, then leaves Para for Tigers, now leaves Tigers again, but we are constantly told he's a good kid. What a joke. They are symbolic of the sentiment we're getting today on the text line. So to Brandy's point, how does he navigate the next, at this point, 18 months as a West Tiger?
Yeah.
How does he navigate the next 24 hours, more importantly?
Yeah,
yes.
Well, guys, from a PR point of view, we saw how the West Tigers reacted yesterday. Now, this, like it or not, this is it's a PR battle, right? And the West Tigers needed to show their fans and members what they were going to do to try and keep Lachlan Galvin after a 19-year-old said, don't bother offering me a contract. So in response, the West Tigers put out a statement inferring that they were prepared to make him the richest junior in the club's history. Is that the case? Possibly. We don't really know. It's merely a statement from the West Tigers club to position themselves as though they were ready to fight for their club, and I give them credit for that. What has to happen next is that Lachlan Galvin has to stand and explain his situation, because that's the only way it's going to take a small element of noise out of the room. Until fans hear it from him on why he wants to leave and explain the situation, it's always going to be this situation of why. And that's how the next 24 hours need to be navigated. I can tell you that Benji Marshall at this point in time wants to win football games, and Lachlan Galvin helps Benji Marshall win football games. So I expect him to be there on Easter Monday at this stage. It's Teamless Tuesday. I expect Locky Galvin to be named in the Tigers lineup to face the Eels on Monday. But in the immediacy, guys, I think Lachlan Galvin should explain himself.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Daly Cherry Evans is...
Do you agree or not?
Yeah, I agree. The Daly Cherry Evans situation is still a mystery to me. We'll never know exactly what, the thoughts inside his head and the agendas and the reasoning for this and the management's involvement and how much that skewed things. I think will be the same with Locky Galvin. We'll never truly understand exactly what happens or why it's happening. It'll be just one of those things that we talk about for a week and then we move on. And the Tigers fans just have to, live with it.
But as we move on, the question will be, well, where does he end up next? Do you have any idea on that front? There are multiple Sydney clubs in the reckoning, David.
Yeah, there will be because of his talent, right? Like we all know how serious a talent he is, and there will be. But at the same time, you need to temper that just simply down to money and an opportunity within your roster. Like it's not every single club is keeping close to $1 million spare in their salary cap. And to Brandy's point, could it be for next season? Like no one's sitting around with a spare $1 million for next season. So it would take some work.
Yeah, some movement within a roster.
Some movement.
Yep.
That's right.
But that considered, do you expect him to be a Tiger in 2026?
I really don't know. Matt, I've got no idea. I really don't know because to what I just said, I don't know exactly how he's feeling. I don't know exactly how Benji's feeling about what's been said about
Good
him.
points.
I don't know, so I can't make that judgment call.
What about you, David?
Yeah. Yeah, look, guys, I've got it wrong last year. I declared on this show that he wouldn't be there at the West Tigers this season due to the fact of how much tension and uneasiness I was learning from Locky Galvin at that time that he requested the release last year. I just didn't expect him to be there. So, look, I'm not going to come out and say he won't be there in 26, but this one's completely different. Like, the West Tigers need to seriously sit down and think what good is going to come out of Locky Galvin sticking around through until 2026.
Yeah.
If they can make something work for them in their salary cap by letting Locky go and taking away the noise, I think that's a smart move.
Yep. Was that another bet you made about walking nude somewhere? Where you thought,
it was in that category.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Let's leave Park Locky and move on to the Roosters up against the Panthers this Saturday night at 7:30, Allianz Stadium. Can I just, before we start talking about what the topic is, last year's Game 3 in Origin was epic. Was arguably the best Origin game we've seen. A decider that went as ferocious as we've ever seen a game, went for 70 minutes. The opening went for 70 minutes.
That's right.
The man of the match out of that game was Dylan Edwards.
Yep.
Let's talk about the topic of the two fullbacks having a battle on Saturday night.
Teddy v.
And
Eddie.
Brandy. Yeah, Matty, Brandy. This is the debate, right? Like, so everything Brandy said, Dylan Edwards enormous. And he's an enormous player. Like, he's so consistently outstanding. But we get to this point in time that no one saw coming, where the Panthers are sitting second last. And granted, there's still several weeks before the New South Wales Origin team is chosen, and the Panthers can turn this around. But if they don't, will New South Wales coach Laurie Daly take Dylan Edwards in his current form into the New South Wales State of Origin environment? And I say that respectfully on the basis that Laurie has declared that he will be picking players in form and coming into camp with confidence. Now, right now, I'm thinking about Dylan Edwards, and I'm thinking about Dylan Edwards just all in for the Panthers, mentally, preparation-wise, physically. Everything is about turning these Panthers
Are you
club
saying
around.
he needs a rest? Does he need a rest because of that mental mental burden about Penrith?
No, what I'm saying is his only focus is Penrith. He would not be thinking about the Blues. And so if we get to that point in time where Panthers are still struggling around Origin time, and James Tedesco is in the opposite vein of form, I'm taking the opposite views here, it's going to be a tough decision, or at least a significant decision. Do you not agree? Or is Edwards just over the line for you no matter what the form? No matter the form of Penrith.
Just on Dylan, and I know Penrith's form isn't great, but just on Dylan. So he started the season in Vegas, played fullback there. He played against the Roosters, came back. Round 2 was against the Roosters, where he did his groin midway through the game. He battled on, but he was injured. So remove him from that game because he played with a groin injury. He then missed the next 3 games and returned for the game against the Dolphins. So he's played very little football.
Yeah.
And he was, as I said, the best player on the field in arguably the greatest Origin game we've seen. I'm thinking he deserves selection.
Yep.
Teddy has been great. You know my relationship with Teddy. I think he's a fantastic player. He's been great for the Blues. But last year when filling in for Dylan after Dylan hurt himself in the lead up to game one. Everyone said
he didn't do as good a job.
Well,
he didn't do as good a job.
Well, that's right, David. I don't want to knock a champion.
No,
Teddy is a champion,
and mate, he's a champion. Yeah,
and he has been in great form. He's been the Roosters' best player and most consistent player in a side that's been losing. So I agree with all that, but I still think, I know Penrith have waned and then they've only had 5 wins, but boy, you don't penalise a bloke that was as good as Dylan Edwards last year for the Blues because of it.
It certainly makes this Saturday so exciting to see how it unfolds.
It does, absolutely.
And with as many as 5 Panthers in Origin reckoning, Laurie Daly will be a very keen observer of the Panthers in coming weeks. Dave, time is beating us. We will get to the likes of Jerome Hughes and the boost for the Dogs that we expect on Teams Tuesday later in the show. But I'll give it back to you to give our audience the big hooroo.
Thank you, boys. Go well.